bits.
Here we go!
Here it comes! Yeah! We talk games!
Full of bullshit and energy.
Our focus always rambles off topic,
But we keep the format anyway.
TT Schmootkins, the robot sex bot. Stinky stinks so bad he smells.
We take turns choosing the games that we review.
Even Mario's Hotel. Come on, characters, nobody likes you. Let desire fuel your confidence.
Are you ready for our game weekly?
Come on, we talking now.
Hey,
Ho.
let's go. And we will go. I'm Stinky the Game Master. I'm here as part of We Talk Games, brought to you each week of the Arcade Weekly. And it's all for guess how much it costs. 1, 2, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock rock, 0 o'clock dollars. That's right, your donations weren't enough. So here we are, giving it away free from your friends at We Talk Games, and also a special guest on tonight for our final Holiday Haymaker.
Jingle bells, jingle bells, jingle
So we're going to go around, state your name and where you are from, and let's go in reverse alphabetical order.
Oh, God. Hey, it's Kyle VonKubik from Strong Island, New York. Happy holiday haymakers. Get ready for a Yuletide beatdown. This is the final episode of 2016.
Yeah, I said that, but where are you from? We Talk Games or what other?
Oh, where am I from? I
Yeah.
thought where I live. Yeah, I'm from We Talk Games.
We Talk Games, okay.
It's
I
the
heard of
only
that.
podcast you can hear me on, except for
Oh.
those times I'm on other podcasts.
Okay, well, we're live, so this matters.
Yes.
You could also say where you're from. Long Island, go! Ow, my headphones fell off. Next.
I'm Keef The Roboduke from We Talk Games and Sidecast. Coming,
Keith, you probably should have went first. I jumped over your line. I considered Roboduke your last name.
it is my last name.
Okay.
Keith, the is my middle name, and Roboduke is my last name.
Jesus Christ, this is taking a long time.
Where are you from?
From
Where
We
do
Talk
you
Games
live?
and
In a
Sidecast.
tent?
Oh,
Do you have bed bugs?
let's not get into it. I'm from New Jersey, where all the bed bugs come from.
Right. I'm Stinky the Game Master, and I am from We Talk. I already said that. But now, what do we got special?
I'm Kevin WK, and I am from the 8-Bit Geek.
Oh, Jesus, he
And-
should have who cares?
And I'm also with Divas, Dropkicks, and Dives. I'm also part of this weird Weight Watchers group and other things, and I own a suburban home outside of Kansas City.
Kansas City, go! So your main meat and potatoes is the 8-Bit Geeks.
Yes, they are my main squeeze.
I love them. They're great. You know why?
But we got fired from you last time we talked to you, Stinky.
Oh, that's you.
When Stinky's on, somebody gets fired.
It's a time for giving pink slips. Unless you buy my album, don't forget, it's free on the internet, so buy them up before they're gone. All right, today, toss over to Kyle VonKubik. Tell you what we're going to do right here.
We are going to talk about Dungeons and Dragons Shadows Over Mystara. Or Mystara. There's no I in there. It's Shadows
thought there
Over
was.
Mystara. Yeah. My brain tells me there is. It came out in 1996 and it was put out by Capcom.
Stars over Wisteria. Starbucks.
This is a side-scrolling brawler because it's holiday haymakers. Get ready to punch some dudes in the face. Let's check in with TT Schmootkins for some Snapchat stats.
Hello, I am Titi Schmootkins, and this is Titi's Snap Stats. Dungeons and Dragons Shadow Over Mystara was released in 1996 by Capcom Company Limited. The game ran on CP System 2 hardware. It used the green board in Asia and blue board in USA and Europe. So, there's that. Capcom announced at PAX East 2013 that they would release Tower of Doom and Shadow over Mystara as part of the Dungeons & Dragons Chronicles of Mystara HD compilation on Nintendo eShop, PlayStation Network, Xbox Live Arcade and Microsoft Windows. Anyone know what it was actually released for? Send your letters to Stinky the Game Master. The addresses, you can look that up. In 2011, GameSpy ranked it number 50 on their list of the top arcade games, calling it one of the most purely entertaining titles ever released for any platform. In 2013, it was ranked as the 18th top beat-em-up video game of all time by Heavy.com, and included among the best-looking beat-em-up games from the 16-bit era by Kotaku. Retro Gamer ranked it as the 16th top retro arcade game. They must be some new cats. I doubt you need to check them out. The Stitty Snap Stats, which is short for Quick Statistics, has been brought to you by the even newer new Dr. Tung Tung's Tung Tung Sauce and by Dungeon Master, Ellis Kohen.
You turn me on.
Now, it's back to Wiggly of Trapdoor and Kyle VonKubik, Keef The Roboduke and Kevin WK of the 8-Bit Geek for more of the We Talk Games Video Power Magazine program.
Thank you, my lovely baby's mama. Hey, by the way, forget it.
Okay.
Today we're going to do a little something different. Now, I was originally supposed to call the Dungeons & Dragons and roll the 20-sided dice and all that business. Unfortunately, John O'Rock Brob, he got his toothache. So now he's got to go to dentist. So I went and played as one of these characters in here, so a cleric. I quick got on my jitterbug, and I could text now.
Wow.
Yeah, I even got AOL on it.
Moving right into 2001.
Yeah. I got to put it on my modem, and I could get, you got mail. And so I mailed him, and he got mail. I brought in my manager and my rabbi, Ellis Kohen. He's going to be calling the Dungeons & Dragons for our program today on Dungeons & Dragons. All the way from New York, Ellis Kohen.
All right, hi everybody. I'm Ellis Kohen and I'm from New York City. You could just call me Mr. New York. Oh yeah, I can tell you what, down the battle Ray on that. You can call me Ray, or you can call me Jay, or you can call me RJ, but you don't have to call me Charlie. Just think of this, though, the city that always sleeps, because oh boy, hey, back in the 70s, I'll tell you what, I used to go to that Century 21. Now, did you ever go to Century 21? Because you're from New York. Well, I went to that Century 21, and I tell you what, I got in the disco, up got the village people, and boy, howdy, I tell you what, that was one spoon wee-wee action in there. I tell you what, I went in there with $4,000 in my hand, and I wouldn't come out with nothing but a brown teeth. Speaking about brown teeth, now, I'll tell you what, it's too bad that your boy with the jungles, he couldn't come in here, because I could have gave him another 80-point tooth damage right on there. Hey, it's Scrabble.
Tim, can you get me a cup of coffee? I'm not awake enough for this.
No.
Now, all you boys, because of Stinky called me in the last minute, I tried looking around for my TSR Dungeons & Dragons book where I had it in 1978, but I couldn't find it, so I picked up this Calvin and Hobbes book. It don't matter nothing. I can make a module out of that.
I believe we're playing an arcade game, or talking about an arcade game that we played, not actually playing the tabletop game of Dungeons & Dragons.
Well, I'm going to go ahead and try to roll a 3 now. Uh-oh, shoe fell in the bog hole. Now, I'll tell you what, I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'll build it with this.
Hey, Ellis, wait a minute. What I got here? Here, you could also use this.
And what you got there, old Stinky?
It's a Daniel Boone card game. He fights a bear and shit, so you could roll that up.
Well, that sounds great. Now, Stinky and all you boys, okay, you just tell me your characters, and I'll listen to the answer offline. And while you're doing that, I'm going to roll up those hit points and give you your magical amulets, and even weigh out your battle axe, and roll up those bear bugs and the bundle flies, and a shoe fell off in the bog hole.
Yeesh, that's why he gets me so many gigs.
I see that, yeah. We're supposed to talk about the character classes we played. I played the fighter as well as the thief class. Kevin, which class did you play as?
How come you play as two?
Because there was so many goddamn classes to pick from and not enough people to, or we could have had more people on the microphone. I had no idea that you knew more than Wiggly and Mr. Onley in the booth.
Yeah, Wiggly isn't here. He's out promoting my album.
Gotcha.
You know, he's got one of those sandwich board signs. He's standing in like the Statue of Liberty.
Kevin, what character class did you play as?
I picked the warrior dwarf, which I tried to like role play. This is the best role playing I can come up with. So I named my dwarf Dumble Dwarf, and he is, he was a really badass dwarf that wanted to beat the shit out of everything. He was so small, but he had the heart of a human. He was just so big.
I named my characters. I forgot to mention that because that is something you can do in the game. I named both my characters Queef because I'm mature. So anyway,
Am I the only one? I like really tried to get into it. I had to play 2 characters as well.
Why'd you play 2 characters, Keith?
Because
Hey, what are you trying to make fun of me now? Is that how it's going to go?
No,
President of the United States. Oh, you fucker.
Well, I played Zorbo, the magic user, which I am told by the game is a mighty name, and then also played as Kalima the elf, the mistress of magic, as it says she is. Both are a lot of fun. The magic user is a little slow, not very good on the attacking, spamming lots of spells. I really like the elf class a lot more. Fast, got a sword and shield. She's got way more style, while the magic user looks like he's wearing rags.
Kevin, what'd you think of the dwarf?
Oh, he was awesome. He's just, like I said, little stumpy dude that just beat the crap out of everything with axes. I was kind of doing Torbjorn's talk, too. I was like, oh, Torbjorn, going to take you down.
Geek.
I would say that he's probably the heavy in the game, whereas the fighter's the all-around character, and then the thief class is definitely that of speed. I did enjoy playing as the thief character more because in most haymakers or brawlers or side-scrolling beat-em-ups, I like playing as the faster character because it makes the experience move along, especially when you're by yourself. But this is a game that I think you should play with another person because it is extremely deep and there's lots of customization and there's lots of things to pick up and different areas to explore. And it's amazing how deep this game is. But before we get too deep into that, Keith, did you take notes on the plot?
What did I play as?
I didn't know
Holy
you
fuck.
played. You usually don't play the games.
You said that you needed another person, so I played
but
it.
I didn't know you were going to play.
Yeah.
So which character class did you play as?
You dope. I played as the cleric.
Cleric?
The cleric. He's a man of God. Here's a very important part. Can you spell stinky? I was able to name him Stinky, and then it goes to end.
Yes.
My cleric class is really cool. Now, I thought a cleric was supposed to be, he's all monastery and stuff, but he's a big old bruiser. And one thing I like is when you keep pumping your coins in, oh boy, and you get different styles of your character. Mm-hmm. And I liked my bald cleric guy the best because it looked like me without my toupee.
Yeah, the cleric character reminded me more of a paladin class. But as Stinky touched on, when you respawn, there's actually 2 character models that will randomly, I guess when you play a single player, it will randomly choose between the 2 or just alternate between the 2, not really random. I liked the more ninja-looking thief, and then there was, with the fighting character, there was a gold armor variant that I liked too. And I noticed in the magic user, I was a big fan of the green witch hat.
I wish I had picked that one. I don't know if it has to deal with which button you hit when you select them, because I have the same ones through the whole game for both types.
When you died and respawned, it didn't change it on you?
No.
Oh, that happened to me every time. It would alternate between the 2.
No, mine actually didn't jump back and forth. I was in the black rags the whole time with, the anime hair with the white streak in it. And then for the elf girl, I was, in the green deedlit outfit the whole time. So it never saw any switching back and forth. And I know, Kyle, you mentioned about the plot for the game. It's pretty basic. As far as the game tells us, 2 years have passed since the battle at the Sable Tower. After defeating the Archlich Daimos and bringing peace back to the Republic of Darokin, the heroes now travel through the Broken Lands to the land of Glantry, looking for new adventures. That's a long sentence.
Very D&D.
Yeah, it's a role-playing game.
It is, yeah.
Why was there a tower?
Because this game is actually a sequel to Dungeons & Dragons, The Tower of Doom, which came out in 1993, actually 3 years before this game. While we're talking about things that came before this, one game I really want to bring up, if we're going to talk about making mechanics, is Knights of the Round, also by Capcom from 1991,
Yes.
which, if I have to say, I think is a superior game to this.
You son of a bitch.
Wow. Somebody at Capcom right now is they're just jumping out of a building. Way to go.
Well, why? Why do you think Knights of the Round is better?
Well, I think it's a better single player experience because with Shadows Over Mystara, you need multiple people to play this game. If you try to play through this as the magic user by yourself, you're just pumping in corners constantly, using all your spells. And then when you run out of spells, you're dead and you just restart that cycle. You can't hold off a boss physically as the magic user.
Maybe you had to keep pumping in quarters.
Well, maybe I did as the magic user, but if you're playing a big buff cleric maybe, or the fighter in a single player way, it might be a little easier.
Yeah, I gave a pro player tip off air to everybody about the final boss was the only one that I actually had difficulty mitigating as the fighter. I had no trouble getting through the game as the fighter. I died, but not a lot. Nothing that I found exorbitant. But at the end, the way that boss battle was set up, and we'll touch on it later, but I had to switch to the magic user to defeat him because I needed that projectile of the spell casting. So it's interesting to me that you played as the magic user and had such difficulty throughout the game.
I did for a bit of it. It still was pretty fun. I had way more fun with the elf because she is versatile in hand-to-hand combat, while the magic user isn't much at all with his attacks. And the thing I like more about Knights of the Round as well is in this game, you do advance and you do level up, but you don't change at all. You don't get a fancier new weapon or like a new shield. Your character doesn't change in their look at all unless you change their outfit. While Knights of the Round, every time you get a new weapon and you level up, they go through multiple changes of how the characters look in that game between Lancelot, Percival, and Arthur and everything. And I just think it looks way better. And I feel like the sense of becoming more powerful and feeling more powerful works better in that game. Well, this is way better if you have multiple people on the screen, because if you have the magic user who's casting spells as everyone else is attacking, it can work out pretty well. But also with the magic user, because he kind of pauses the screen and stuff like that, you can't interrupt enemies' big magic spells, especially on bosses. So you end up trying to cast your spell. It doesn't work because they're casting a spell at the same time and they can't run over each other. It's just difficult playing him by himself.
Much like a real D&D game, when you're a magic user, very early on, it's difficult to play through. And I do agree, I did not feel that sense of empowerment by leveling up that I wish was there, because there was a lot of elements of the tabletop game that were respected in this arcade game, with references to monsters and the magic spells that were used and the items that you would find and then how you would use those items and having an inventory. But the one thing it was missing was that leveling system, because I never felt more powerful on stage 1 as I did at stage 8. There wasn't that progression. I do agree with that. Kevin, what do you think?
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I didn't understand why their level up was there. I think it was just to make you feel good, I guess.
It actually just says on the screen you just get more HP. It doesn't say anything else beyond that, I think.
Yeah, but I got more spells.
Yes, you do gain access to more spells the higher level you go. And with the magic user, you eventually get a meteor swarm.
Okay.
Which can kill the final boss in one attack.
Wow.
Or I had done enough damage already where you cast the meteor spell, it just destroys a whole bar of his life and just kills him. It's the ultimate magic spell.
Well, what were you expecting? That you start taking steroids or something?
Yeah, why not? They had medieval spells of strength and things like that.
Power up. No.
Okay, so this is interesting, though. So originally, one of the things that I felt the game was lacking was that level up feeling, but I only played in fighter classes, as did Kevin. The cleric and the magic user classes, there actually is some sort of empowerment with that leveling up, even if it's just unlocking new spells. That's significant, because Kevin and I didn't experience anything like that in our classes.
Yeah, and the elf is a fighter and a magic user. So she's versatile in attacking. She's fast, like the thief, but she has less spells than the magic user, but she still has access to Ice Storm, Magic Missile, Lightning Bolt, Fireball. She has also a spell Haste where she can quicken herself. She has a protection spell I think she can cast on other people.
Right.
She also has the Summon Elemental spell, which I think magic user and elf, I don't know if cleric has that ability, but Can the cleric summon elementals? I mean, it wouldn't make sense in a D&D terms, really.
Yeah, there's a fire demon with horns, and he goes around. He's big fire and around you.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Yeah, he also does the Star Wars Enterprise when you beam him up, Scotty. Oh, he could throw vipers too. They come out as Moses sticks, and then it makes a viper.
He does the Moses attack?
Well, yeah, they're only sticks for a little while, but then they turn into vipers, and they bite you. Not me. They bite him.
It's neat because the magic user also has the summon elemental, but he seems to summon the fire demon guy you mentioned with the swirling fire, a water dragon as well, which like rains down, which apparently hurts the enemy. But then the elf, when she does summon elemental, she summons either a wind elemental or an earth elemental. Like the thing pops up on the screen and like swings at the guys and throws rocks. So as you can tell already, this game is really in depth with how many options you have, which, as you know, you said, Kyle, it's better in a group. You got to have a group to play this game, I think, to really enjoy it.
Indeed.
Sure.
You do have to have a group. I'll tell you what, when this was in the arcade, holy shit, you want to talk about things pausing and everything because everybody's just pumping in their quarters like you said. So don't think when you're a one-player game, you just have to sit and pumping in the corners. When this was in the arcade, oh,
man. I can picture just going through all my daily tokens on just this game.
Yeah. And then sometimes you had to get that Sbarro's.
Get a shitty pizza or a hot dog from Sbarro's.
There's some Panda Express lo mein or something, you know, that was usually my go-to.
The only other making mechanic that I had that Keith didn't touch on was Alien vs. Predator 1994, also by Capcom. The reason I thought of this game was because of, although there's not as many character classes in that game, there are ones in that game where each character does play different from the other, and it has weapons that you can use. You can actually pick up weapons, and that actually changes how those characters play. Kevin, did you have any making mechanics or games that it was similar to?
Definitely. The two I would go to, I would say Golden Axe 1 and then Golden Axe 2. Like, it has that setting, but minus the mounts, of course. But Revenge of Death Adder, it just has that feel to it. A lot of adventure, a lot of different paths to choose.
Sure.
I was playing this solo. I think Golden Axe was a lot easier to play solo than this game. But it definitely had that feel, especially just the different classes you had to choose. You had your warrior, you had your kind of like barbarian woman, and then you had your dwarf. That's the immediate takeaway I got from it.
I will say about the branching paths, Tower of Doom has more than this game, but this game has more story-oriented paths.
Story-oriented? That's pretty good.
Sorry, I heard something in the background. I got distracted.
I like that.
Story-oriented.
Yes. I got distracted in the background because I don't want you guys to hear my son playing in the background. Anyway, the branching paths within Shadows of Mystara are more story-oriented, whereas you're actually reading stories and deciding whether or not I'm going to go the shorter route through the river, but it's more dangerous, or take the longer route through the woods, or am I going to help this gnome village?
Always help the gnome village.
Oh my God, yes. Pro player tip, you want to do that. Otherwise, you're going to be in a labyrinth for
and you get
way too long.
Penalty stage. In all the
exactly
games I've ever played, I've never had the exact opposite of a bonus stage happen before, where instead you're like, you've taken too long, fight a black dragon.
It's a get boned staged. Tower of Doom is more, do you want to go up the stairs or down the stairs, in this door or through that door? Which is cool. I like the branching path. But this game, I feel, does a better job at conveying what it's like to play Dungeons and Dragons game.
It's more realized geek.
Yes.
Than the other titles. So the other titles are more action-oriented and just have the motifs, where this one actually has you reading. You're in a room and it's dark.
So, Stinky, did you have any making mechanics of your own?
Well, number one, first, in Aliens versus Predator, I, of course, like to be the dwarf alien. But besides that, I think Quiz of Dragons is the closest to this because I like to do the Trivial Pursuit instead of fighting with a hatchet.
Yeah.
So that's about it. Those are the classes and those are the things.
Okay, y'all, I just rolled up all your powers, and here comes a giant boulder. It's got some wings on it, a big old flying boulder. What you gonna do? Jump on top of it and shoot it with your arrows? Too late, you're riding on the flying boulder. Don't worry, it just wants to take you to his magical fairyland of munchkins. Getting ready to snowy all upside there. What you gonna do? Jump off and put a newspaper over your head. Shoe fell off on the bog hole.
Great pick for Dungeon Master. Graphically, I feel that this game represents the pinnacle of art direction and sprite animation for its era and the genre. A lot of people, and we touch on this constantly, but I cannot say it enough, a lot of people have very nostalgic feelings about Simpsons and Turtles as far as brawlers are concerned. And I enjoyed those too in their time, but they can't hold this game's jockstrap. The brilliance of its art direction and its animation, it's wonderful. I would assume everybody on the line feels the same way.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God. I love it. And you're right. It is very ageless. And it's very Capcom. Capcom built this whole graphic system up. You can tell it's a Capcom game by the way it looks. Anyone who's played arcades in the 90s, I mean, there was just like 4 or 5 of these lined up with each other. You had this, you had Punisher, once again, Aliens vs. Predator, Cadillacs and Dinosaurs. You had all of those games, and they were all just very similar looking, but still beautiful to look at. And there's just little subtle differences in each one.
I'll tell you what, you take any Final Fantasy game, and even the best one, and you put it side by side with this. And just like this does more of the role-playing in it as focused towards Dungeons & Dragons, boy, oh boy, you get more than Dungeons & Dragons with these graphics. The way the story progresses, and you're flying in different shit, and there's dragons flying by you. There's only one time that you see a certain type of animation, and the way that the enemies come, all the scrolling and all the everything. Holy mackerel, Annie. I'll tell you what, it is a feast for the eyes. And if you want to say it holds up today, I'll put that up against any role-playing game that ever came out, ever, for any system ever, on the Evers. Except it's a more action-based arcade game version of those longer and more involved role-playing-y wise instead of action version of a compressed Dungeons & Dragons session, which can last for 78 hours at a time, and then you stink.
Yeah, Capcom really dug into the source material with this game and realized characters. Right off the bat, you're fighting an owl bear. As soon as I saw that, I knew that I was dealing with something that had a lot of care and attention to it. And then, yes, the different set pieces and parallax scrolling and animations that you see when you're going into these big moments in the game. Even the first boss battle where you're fighting against a bunch of goblins in a little cart that they've hobbled together as like some sort of tank, and how that fight progresses and then ends. There's humor. The source material is so respected and dug into with this game. This is a treat to look at.
When you're talking about that big skullmobile that those little, what do you call those little guys?
Goblins.
Aliens? Oh,
Red
goblins.
caps. They're red caps, I guess, if you want to get really technical.
Holy fuck, I don't know what the hell you're talking about. Are you talking about Labyrinth?
I play D&D, man. I know my stuff. If they're little goblins with red hats, they're usually red caps. They're bloodthirsty little monsters who dye their caps red with the blood of their enemies.
Oh.
Wow.
Well, evidently, Ellis Kohen played a lot of Dungeons & Dragons as well.
That's so nerdy, I went sterile.
Speaking of nerdy, I mean, do you think that the people like Keef got really pissed off when they pulled that Roadrunner shit at the end of that skull truck?
Actually, I think that is a very appropriate ending for a fight, because D&D is a game that allows you to pull something like that. You know, if like a player notices this thing keeps charging at him, he could say, I'm going to make an athletics roll the next time it comes at me to try to jump over it while I'm standing in front of this cliff. So he flies over it. You can have those kind of situations in a D&D game. You don't always have to just beat the thing to death.
That's something I never thought I'd hear together. Dungeons & Dragons and athletics.
Yeah, or charisma, which of course is a stat in D&D, because not everyone can sit down and play and just talk it out. You have to go, well, my guy's really good at talking it out, so let me just have this number represent it, which still a point to be someone else. But I just want to go along with all what you guys are saying as someone who also plays D&D. It is perfect. It has so many different monsters from the game. The setting is perfect. I love that every time you play through the game, you might see something new as long as you don't make the same choices. Sometimes having a different character in your group opens up different choices. When you're the elf, you get a third option at one point because the elf has the ability to like guide you through the forest. So you can have her do
I
that.
didn't see that. That's cool.
Yeah, and there's a stage I really liked. It was really beautiful. It's stage 5C. It's called the Forest Bridge, but what it actually should have been called is Hippie Daydream, because it's these mushrooms and wooden bridges built between them up in the clouds that you get to play through. It's really gorgeous. Painted background looks awesome. I cannot gush enough about this game and how well it portrays D&D to anyone. If you show someone this game and say, do you want to try the real thing? I think it could maybe get them into it.
Maybe. And what I will say about what Stinky asked is you can't please everybody, but in the experiences, although they are limited, that I've had with the tabletop game Dungeons and Dragons, humor is something that has always been a part of my campaign. I mean, I play a lizard man, which is not an actual race you can be in the game, so I'm Dragonborn, but I'm not, called Carl Winslow. And to remember where I've been, I defecate. So I will defecate in numerous rooms throughout a castle and a shop, just so I remember that I've been there.
I don't know what's so funny about that. I still do that.
That's pretty smart. I mean, even in D&D terms, that's a smart thing to do if you're going through a dungeon. Humor is a huge part. Anytime you have a bunch of nerds sitting around a table, no one can be serious for that long. Sure. 78-hour game, somewhere in there, somebody's going to make a joke. And even when I play in the game I'm in right now, I play Whiskbrid Nazumi. He's a gnome druid, and I'll talk like this the whole time. Because why? It's fun. Because it's fun to act like a 300-year-old gnome.
So I'm glad Keith was happy to see that in the game. I was happy to see that in the game. And I know Kevin enjoys humor, so I'm going to assume he did as well.
Oh, yeah, that first level boss. Yeah, Warhammer. Or not, War Machine. War Machine was the name of the boss.
Don't like they make jokes about slide rules and shit.
It'd be nice if they made a Thaco joke somewhere in there. I actually would have appreciated that.
Didn't they make like a joke about the square root of Scrabble?
Square root of Scrabble.
I know, it's a scary thought.
Wow. It is a scary thought. There are the squares on there, so how big each of... Oh, no. Oh, God, I'm hurting my head. I got to stop. Get back into the D&D.
I always try to play the Fibonacci sequence when I play Scrabble.
I do want to ask, because it is present in the game, but I was not lucky enough to find it. There are hidden rooms throughout each stage, and in one of these hidden rooms, you can find what I will sum up as your legendary weapon. Did anybody find their legendary weapon?
No.
Each character has one.
I wish I did, because did anyone else go down the river on the raft?
Yes, I tried that on my second playthrough.
Did you get through it quick enough to go through the cave and meet the Avatar?
No, because I kept getting into fights, timing out, and then I had the dragon up my ass.
I raced through it on my second playthrough as my elf after already beating it as the magic user. And if you get through it fast enough, you get to go through a cave where like this mysterious voice is like, do you want to know a secret? And through...
Jared Fogel's in the game.
Yeah. Can you keep a secret? No, it's basically you can ask it about a legendary weapon, a legendary spell, who the enemy is, or you can say, no thanks, and it goes, all right, see you later. Which it actually says, fine then, get thee going. Like, I don't know why you would say no, but I actually went through enough to try all the different options. And if you pick who is the enemy, it tells you that Sin is the red dragon that you fight at the end. If you pick a magic spell, it says like a great magic user can eventually get to a level to use a great spell, which I'm guessing is the Meteor Swarm spell I mentioned earlier.
Okay.
But the really cool thing is if whoever has beaten the game and is in first place on the rankings, if you ask it about legendary weapons, it mentions 3 different, like a fire weapon, an ice weapon, and a wind weapon. And then it also says, and the sword of that legendary hero, and mine it says Zorbo, who was my character I played through first. It puts your name in there, so it'll say, I guess the legendary weapon says, and the sword of that legendary hero Zorbo, who has slain that evil dark dragon, is said to be hidden deep somewhere around here. So a neat little touch is whoever has first place on that arcade machine, they are the hero who has already done all this before, and their legendary weapon must be in one of these hidden rooms you mentioned.
again, just another attention to detail that didn't need to be in there. Would have been easier to put the game together without it, but you have to appreciate it that it's there. And this is why we're holding this game up above what the mainstream looks at as a great brawler. This is above and beyond what you'd expect. Items break, weapons break. You go to the store, you pick up projectiles just like in D&D, where you can
and the
pick
store
up,
owner changes the farther you get in the game, depending on where you are
Yes.
in the game. Even on the final level, you got an orc there selling you stuff. Like, even the enemies are trying to play fair a little bit.
Every time I went in the shops, I just keep poking her boobies and then I leave.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
Wait, do they react if you poke on them?
They all will once.
Oh,
Say I'm
I
not for
didn't even-
sale.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't even try it.
That's not what I heard.
What did she tell you?
It doesn't matter if you're not for sale. I just want to poke your boobs.
You can pick up throwing hammers. You can pick up javelins to give your character projectiles if your class doesn't already have that by means of and a bow and arrow is something you can pick up as well.
I actually found through the game, talking about picking things up, I found a cursed sword in the game.
Yeah, I got that. I found that.
Yeah, where if you swing it, it'll do damage, and then you'll swing it again, it just does damage to you.
Every time you swing it, yep.
Which is another really nice little touch, except in a D&D game, your dungeon master won't tell you it's cursed, and one of your friends will be wearing this armor for a bunch of the game, slowly turning into a demon without you knowing. Once again, nice little touch.
As far as detail goes, I never really played Dungeons and Dragons myself because I have ADD, and if I can't see what's going on, I'm just like lost. So the best thing I could say, I mean, the attention to detail was unbelievable, and I just liked the fact that they built a whole story for you. I mean, it's pretty cool that you have like this choose your own adventure kind of deal for an arcade beat 'em up, which is unheard of.
I think that's important to say. I think the Capcom did a great job of taking D&D, which to a lot of people can seem very overwhelming or nerdy or annoying or difficult. I don't want to do math when I'm hanging out with my friends. They took that and they took the best elements of it, or some of the best elements of it, and condensed it down into a beautiful visual presentation, but a very fun and exciting game. I don't give a shit what Keith says about Knights of the Round being better.
Yeah, you know what? I got to tell you, I'm listening here, sitting back. I forget that we're actually talking about a video game, because it really does sound like you're talking about D&D.
Sure.
And as far as D&D goes, it's sort of like, well, you either know it or you don't. So I don't think it's something that necessarily people would say, oh, it's called Dungeons and Dragons. I want to play it. I think everyone will play it because, number one, it looks unbelievable.
Yeah.
And number two, if you do like D&D, then you get it in, and then it's D&D.
Did someone say D&D? Because it's time to play some more D&D now. I rolled it all up. Now there before you is a giant mountain. What that? It's a long rope ladder come down the face of the precipice journey. What you gonna do? You gonna climb up that ladder? You gonna go into the cave? I don't even know you have matches. Let me go ahead, roll 3. Uh-oh, shoe fell off, fell in the bog hole.
Talk about D&D and ADD. I think Ellis Kohen has it. The worst dungeoneering I've ever heard.
I think he's great.
Something I wanted to touch on, but I don't think anyone has at this point, is the controls. They were not intuitive. And the reason I say that is because the button mapping with the inventory system of bringing up your inventory wheel and scrolling through it, I had to get used to it.
It's 4-button, which is kind of unusual for a Capcom game, number one.
Was I alone on this, or did anyone else have a little bit of difficulty from jump with that control scheme?
From someone who played 2 different magic users, yeah, it's a pain to try to jump between those menus, and then every time you die, it resets you back to the first spell in whatever part of the wheel you're in. When you're the magic user, it's 2 wheels of 6 spells each, and then your items, and the elf has 2 wheels of 4 spells each, and then your items. So jumping around between those when you're the only person can be difficult, but this is once again the situation that would be solved with someone else holding off enemies as you're, trying to get your magic missile on.
What'd you think, Kevin?
That was the confusing part too. And I was playing this version on the because the Xbox had their collection where it was both titles on there. And I did it that way, and I kept getting jump confused with like using your special. So I kept going through my inventory on accident. I had to keep reassuring myself of the buttons every few minutes. The only one I knew, obviously, was just the attack button. But when it came to actually like moving around and stuff, I'd inadvertently throw a hammer at somebody, or a spell would go off when there's no one around.
I did much better on my second playthrough because by then I had learned to mitigate that menu quickly, get what I need, switch into it, use the item because I played fighting classes, and not accidentally throw the hammer, the axe, or the javelin or whatever. But with that being said, I don't know if I would change it because we've talked about games in the past like Tower Jiraga or other games that were high fantasy that wanted to implement an inventory system. And as far as the arcade is concerned, I can't think of a better way to implement it in this game. It's a good menu system once you learn it. And I think it would take a playthrough to learn it, or if you had a second player, would help you so you could stand back, cycle through your different items or spells instead of getting your ass kicked in.
I can imagine a lot of teamwork, which is the heart of a Dungeons and Dragons game, is having your team work together. Because if you don't work together, you're done. I really want to play through this again with people where I can be the magic user, which I play in my tabletop game, and be able to sit in the back while someone's in the front, be able to say like, okay, cool, I'm going to hit the ice storm and freeze everyone. You guys focus on them. Elf character, make sure you're casting protect on everybody and everything. Am I talking about an arcade game or am I talking about an actual tabletop D&D game?
I don't know, but it's like Beetlejuice. Don't say it too much because Ellis Cohen will come back.
I want to mention, though, I don't know if there are Skeksis in actual tabletop D&D, but the fact that one of the main enemies in the game is one is really... And there are some dark crystals in this game as well. Which I think they actually bring up the fact that the thief later in the game stole a crystal from Deimos's tower in the first game.
Right.
If you didn't play the first game, which I hadn't before this, I have in the past, I was very, very confused at that point. But I was like, all right, Deus Ex Machina, cool, whatever. We're getting out of here.
The menu, before Keef went on his thing about the others, that brings up a good making mechanic for me. The first pro wrestling game called Tag Team Wrestling. And what you did in that one, you had to hit a button and you pulled up a menu of the different moves you wanted to try on your other fella when you got in the lockup. Now, you said that you wouldn't change it, but how else really can you do that? And number two is first, Oli, how are the buttons set up? Let's tell the listener that. Anyone.
How are they set up on my Xbox 360 controller?
No, like what do the buttons do?
You got your 8-way joystick, and then your 4 buttons. You have a attack, jump, the button to bring up your menu, and then while your menu is up, you cycle through it by hitting that button to cycle through it. I believe a counterclockwise pattern, and then you have to hit the jump button while that menu's up to cycle through the multiple menus you have. And then your 4th button is to select and also use said spell or ability or pot of fire you throw out to summon an evil genie.
It sounds like a lot of buttons, but try playing Stargate by Williams, where I believe there's 14 buttons on the control deck.
I was going to bring that up. But the other thing is that look at all the moves you could do, too. Like you could duck and walk around in a crouch like a dum-dum. You could do a slide move. You could do a dash move.
Yeah, every character has a very realized move set, and there are power moves as well as desperation moves. The power moves eat up your power meter, where the desperation moves eat up your HP.
Yeah, the old jump plus attack special ability move where most beat 'em ups only have 2 buttons. No other way you could do it. It can be annoying at times, but you definitely can't do that any other way.
Right. Yeah. I'm not disparaging the game for it. No. I just want to make the listener aware that I want you to play the game. Don't get discouraged when you're accidentally throwing all the items you bought.
Yeah.
Like Kevin and I did.
Yeah. Or don't think the game is glitching when you're fighting the beholder, because magic doesn't work on them. It counterspells all your spells.
Oh, that's a good pro player tip. Here's another one. If you play with a friend and you want to be a magic user, have the other person play as a thief. And if you pick up the thief's hood as the magic user, you're invincible for the rest of the game.
What?
Holy poop.
Yeah, it's a glitch, but it's something I read that's very interesting. Yeah, there's a lot of glitches in the game like that if you have 2 people.
And also because there is so much in the game, as proven by big Bethesda open world games, the more you put into something and the more options and items, the more glitches you're going to end up having in the end. Right. And another
crushed in by its own weight.
Yes. While we're talking about pro player tips, when you're fighting bosses and they have minions, if you can, concentrate on the boss, because once the boss is dead, all the minions die as well. Or
Yes.
they just kind of shuttle away off to the side.
We have no boss anymore. Oh, time to go live my life the way I wanted to.
I heard somebody say giant boss. Now, how many dinosaur bones that you have? It's like an indoor petting zoo. Uh-oh, giant robot made out of toothpaste. Don't try him with your fireball. It already took the antidote. Okay, let me try to run a 3. Skip you back to me. Uh-oh, I'm gonna roll 3. Uh-oh, she fell off on the bog hole.
Okay, that's good. I guess who's winning? Ellis, who the hell's winning?
Well, now you're down in the bog hole. Uh-oh, shoe fell off on the bog hole.
We gotta drain that bog. Kevin, what'd you think of the music?
The music was great. It was epic. I think I was using off of Capcom's Q sound system. It sounded beautiful. I mean, once again, it seems like something you would listen to in a Dungeons and Dragons session. Very epic, great piano and such. I don't know how to say it, but it's just, I don't know, just music you would expect to hear out of a Dungeons and Dragons fighter. So
It's very orchestral.
yeah, there you go, orchestral. Yeah.
I don't know if you noticed, but my guy could cast a binding spell. Well, it looked like the Star Wars Enterprise with the beam me up Scotties. And the one level sound like Star Wars happening. Okay, it was just me.
Which level was that?
One, I don't know. I had my Elvis Christmas album on. It's on the 8-track. So I might have like mixed the two together and sound like it. You know what it sound like? Do 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 do. Ba 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 ba. Woo-dee-doo. Star Trek Enterprise. Okay. Whoa.
Whatever Ellis is on, I think Stinky got into it.
I just had a stroke.
Are you okay? Damn.
Yeah, I'm okay.
Okay, good. No, as far as the music, yeah, it is very epic sounding. I like all the
Who?
the voice. Huh?
Geordie LaForge.
Yeah. Is he in this game?
No, he wears a beret on his eyeballs.
I wanted to mention, if we're talking about the music, if we could talk about all the sound and the fact that all the characters,
Yes.
at least the magic users, shout out all the different spells, which are all real D&D spells. So whether you're the magic user or the elf, they both have a different voice.
Magic
shouting.
missile! Magic missile! Magic missile!
Fireball, 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 fireball. But you really
Tiger
can't-
V!
The cleric has the twisty rockets.
Oh, twisty rockets.
Body blow, sorry. No, there is. There's fantastic music and sound engineering in this game.
Capcom hitting their stride as far as sound. I mean, this came out the same year as X-Men vs. Street Fighter, which gave us all Optic Blast and all those wonderful little
Masaka
sound.
Barrage.
Yeah, there.
We're getting real close to that onomatopoeia review.
Ooh, yeah. Ellis was mentioning giant bosses. Did we talk about any of the bigger bosses? I know I mentioned the Beholder, but
we are going so long, but please talk about those bosses, Keith, because this game deserves it, and it is the last episode of 2016. What a wonderful year it's been.
as I mentioned before, the Beholder, probably one of my favorite bosses just because it counterspells everything, which is, once again, it remaining very true. The Displacer Beast is really cool looking as well, being two of them jumping around on the screen. I think my favorite's the Beholder, though. I think he's probably the coolest looking one because every time you hit him, another eyeball stem like falls off him as you're fighting him. And that's another thing I think, you know, a lot of people always focus on the dragons in Dungeons and Dragons. I feel like a Beholder, that is very much a backbone of D&D.
Sure.
Is that the guy that puts you to bed?
I had to put yeah, I think he could put,
That round ball. He makes you sleep.
Yes,
yeah,
he
he can make
makes
you go to sleep too. Yeah. Beholders are
It's the way Stinky says things that fucks us up.
What the hell?
they're very powerful magic users, Stinky. Yeah, they can put you right to sleep.
Was there a gelatinous cube, or am I having a fever dream? I thought there was.
I did not encounter one. Kevin, did you?
No, I didn't see it.
Can't remember if there was or was not. Anyway, Kevin, what were some of your favorite bosses?
The Beholder was my favorite, so Keith,
Okay.
you hit it on the head on that one. But other ones that it was funny that this is in '96. They didn't know about the Scorpion King starring The Rock, but they did have a man scorpion in it. That was a fun little boss battle. The first time you run into the main boss of the game, it was in like you fight Lick or Lich, That was a cool little fight.
Yeah, you do fight a lich. They
A
summon
lich is
one.
like a demon, right, Keith?
Yeah, it's like an undead necromancer kind of thing. Usually maybe like an evil wizard that died and has come back to life as a lich to summon more undead. Once again, a very traditional Dungeons and Dragons villain, a lich. Yeah, I was going to mention that one too, but I didn't want to take them all.
Yeah, then there was the Shadow Elf too, which is very Dungeons and Dragons, seeing the Shadow Elf. So
Tel Arin, I think, is his name. And
yeah.
There's a timer, so I don't know if you can actually beat him before that timer runs out and have it affect the path of the game. I'm not sure, but it is something I want to see.
The 2 times I played through it, it seemed like once you got him down to like a certain part in the energy bar, then the other person would jump in. So that other elf or whatever that came to save you.
The palette swap elf.
It totally was a palette swap.
I gotta tell you, because I'm so biblical, I actually like when it first bosses, when it's just the 2 griffins. Because, you know, a griffin, what is it? Eagle, lion?
No,
something.
you're thinking of the chimera.
Yeah, the chimeras.
Yeah.
That's what I meant. Did you know the chimera is angels? So when you ever see these people walking around with, an angel's on my shoulder, and an angel, chubby cherubs and all that, you know that they look like those guys?
Like a hippogriff?
It's one of those with the beaks and the flying around with the lions and shit.
Goat head and snake tail.
Well, I mean,
Yeah,
I guess
that's what a real angel is.
and that makes sense because God made us in his image. He didn't make angels in his image, so they
No.
wouldn't look like us.
They looked like fucking freak shows. Until they became like the Men in Black, and then they were like the Men in
The
Black.
chimera was my favorite boss. I like the chimera very much.
I like the manticore as well that's in there is really cool, which you end up fighting again later. The Skeksis summons a manticore and the black dragon back to help him. But remember, pro player tip, concentrate all your damage on the main boss.
Yeah.
That Skeksis guy is actually really weak. So if you just get him out of the way, the manticore and the black dragon just drop off.
If you hit your A and B button together, did all the skeletons just fall into dust?
No, that's
That must
definitely
be just you as a cleric.
Yep.
yeah, that's some turn undead magic right there, actually.
Now, of course, that uses up your life bar. But as soon as I'd hit those together, didn't need to have any special bullshit lined up. It just turned all the skeletons into dust and they fell. And then their
awesome.
shields were there. Yeah.
Does he have healing spells too?
Maybe.
Okay, because I know there's a healing ring you can find, which is surprising for a game to give you an option to heal yourself at any time.
Yeah, he has things that boost up your hit points, and then he has things that boost up your power points.
Okay.
And so probably something about healing, but I couldn't look quick enough because I got old man eyeballs.
We should have asked that before, but it just came up, and I realized we hadn't covered the fact that there are healing spells too. Just all the D&D in this game.
What was a nice change up for me, because of all the games we've played during Holiday Haymakers, the only Grand Wizard in the game is the magic user, which was nice. That joke is funny. Okay, so let me explain that joke.
Yeah, no.
I was going to mention the wizard hat because I was wearing a wizard hat. I was going to give it to Ellis Kohen, and but before the show, I said, "Here, take my Grand Wizard hat," and then I remembered,
Just so you guys know, 2 of the 3 games Wiggly and I discussed had a Ku Klux Klan member as one of the bosses.
Yeah,
Oh, man.
I heard those. I listen.
Keith and Kevin, we've talked about some of our favorite bosses.
What about me?
You didn't
I
really
talked
talk
about a
about your
favorite
favorite
boss.
boss. You
I
talked
did.
about the Chimera. All right, so Chimera was your favorite too. So Stinky, Kevin, Keith, myself, we've talked about the bosses we like. Let's talk about the final boss.
Yes. Then, with 2 ends, the giant dragon.
Somebody said dragon. I heard dragon right in there. I'm dragging my butt. Oh my, it's a big ugly dragon. Oh, he's all chock full of nuts. Oh, he got 2 heads. He's wearing a leather jacket. What are you gonna do? You gonna pass him the mic or have him with the fiery breath? This is one of those really scares. It's one of those weirdos. Did you ever watch one of those weirdos on the televisions like the Incredible Hulk, like the Bates Motel? A weirdo, yeah, like that, Oh, shoe fell off on the bog hole.
When do we roll or give any sort of input in this other game that's been played throughout the episode?
We would, but we keep getting stuck in the bog hole.
He's the dungeon master.
Yeah, he's
You don't-
terrible.
What do you mean? I think he's great, but I'm under contract to say that. All right, talk about the last dragon. Oh, I mean the last thing.
Talk about the glow of the last dragon.
Yeah.
Sin.
It's just such an epic fight. Having this huge dragon covering the screen. It's one of those classic boss fights where he's too big to fit the whole boss on screen. So you just see the head and the hands. So that's the only things you can attack. So, and it's cool. And he randomly just kind of pops away.
How'd you find fighting him as the dwarf? Because I found it very
sucked.
difficult. Yeah.
I went through many credits just fighting him because of the fact that it was just me and I had no magic capabilities whatsoever.
Right.
I was basically like, doing card tricks. That's how high my magic level was. And not even good card tricks. It was just tough trying to deal with all that.
Sure. Now, you were the magic user, and I said that when I was having difficulty and died, I came back as the magic user at a very low level, but was able to beat the boss. You said you had some difficulty. So what else happened in that boss battle? Did you switch out, or did you just forge through?
Yeah, it wasn't that boss battle. It was more of the game. When you hit that last boss, as I mentioned, I had a meteor swarm spell.
Mm-hmm.
And I used a bunch of spells and was like, oh, I leveled up. I have that crazy spell. And I used it, and it just killed him. Just killed Sin instantly.
So what are you talking about that the leveling up had no effect on it? Clearly had an effect on your character.
It had an effect.
Kevin and I were just like, we've got him.
So we talked. Me and Stinky mentioned that. Stinky mentioned that, and we said that. We talked about it earlier. Me and Stinky said that we, though, did have an advancement.
Yeah. All right. So you had no problem beating him.
With him, no. I actually really didn't have any trouble because I was like casting spells and was like, oh, this one, boom. Dead, died, it's over, just dropped him with the meteor swarm spell. So I was like Sephiroth up in that bitch.
Well, how'd Stinky fare against the final boss?
Well, it was illegal because I used one of those breathe right strips, and you're not supposed to use those in football. So I just did a touchback, like in the longest yard. I got him. I scored 3.
Nice. With the elf, it was a little easier to take him out. I didn't have the meteor swarm.
I really appreciate Keith just completely ignoring Stinky.
Oh, God.
So, Keith, you also fought the dragon as the elf. How was that experience?
That was great. Actually,
really?
Well, because she's faster.
Kevin, we picked the wrong classes, man.
I'm telling you, man. It was fun to watch my character.
The fighter. You had difficulty with the dwarf. So, what did you do as the elf?
The elf has spells, so I was able to hit him easily with the ice storm and a couple other ones. It's harder to hit him with the lightning. She's fast enough that you can run back and forth and take swipes at him, though there were definitely moments where I'd get caught in a bad loop and he would just munch on my head 3 times in a row and kill me. The game does have give me your quarters mentality going on.
Yeah. All right, so I think we've touched on as much as we possibly could for this episode, but we definitely touched on the things we like and dislike. Kevin, who would you recommend this game to aside from everyone?
Yeah, I mean, everyone just beat 'em up fans, obviously Dungeons and Dragons fans. But look, once again, I'm not a fan. I can't say I'm not a fan of Dungeons and Dragons. It's just not for me. But I still loved playing through this just because it was very simple as far as a beat 'em up goes, but with a lot of depth. So I would say pretty much, once again, everyone really. But if you're a beat 'em up fan and you're a fan of Capcom beat 'em ups, especially, right up your alley.
I agree. I think if you're somebody who says, I like arcade games and I love beat 'em ups and my favorite one is Turtles or Simpsons. And I'm not bagging on those games. I'm just saying, widen your palette. Try something like this and see what the difference is, because this is significantly different to those games. They rest on the laurels of their franchise, where this takes a franchise and really digs into it. And granted, Dungeons and Dragons as a franchise has more to dig into game-wise than something like The Simpsons or Turtles does. With Turtles and Simpsons, you can bring in characters, and I love what Konami did with The Simpsons because they brought in stuff that had absolutely nothing to do with The Simpsons, and I appreciate those games for what they are. But what I'm saying is there's so many other great brawlers. Those are good brawlers. This is a great brawler.
I think Simpsons is more of a family game, and I'm not going to joke with you. I knew a fella, and he had a husband, a wife, a boy, and a girl. So it was perfect for them because they just got to play as themselves in the family. So a family sees that game. It's family friendly. It's fun to hit people with what's an indoor lawnmower? It's fun to hit people with a vacuum cleaner and like that. So
that game and Turtles are great first rungs for the ladder that's going to lead you down the rabbit hole of exciting, excellent brawlers.
But what about the Master of Magnet?
Welcome to Die. if I would recommend it, I recommend this to anybody. I recommend this to old beat 'em up fans who only played Double Dragon, bad dudes. I recommend
What
this.
did you say about Double Dragon when Kevin on the line?
I'm not gonna say anything bad while we have a champ.
We
on
got
the
a
line,
world
okay?
record holder on the line, Keith. Do not insult our guest.
I will not insult. I'm saying,
It's
geez.
the holiday season. Show some class. You don't piss on hospitality, Keith.
You're going to get some clean coal in your stocking from the Oompa Loompa.
Yeah, he's bringing back clean coal to the country for Christmas this year. Trumpy claus.
Trumpy, you don't have to eat dirty coal anymore.
But as I was saying, speaking of the good old days, Bad Dudes and Double Dragon, if you're fans of that, if you're a newer day beat 'em up fan who's never even stepped in an arcade, say you've only played Scott Pilgrim versus the World on your Xbox 360, well, you should probably own this on your Xbox One if you can nowadays. I was a little sad because I thought this was on Capcom Classics Collections, and I went and dug out my PlayStation 2 and my games and was like, oh, I was wrong. It's Knights of the Round that's on here, not the Dungeons and Dragons games, which was probably because of copyright reasons, I imagine, is why we haven't seen remakes of these D&D games until... Kevin, did that come out this year?
I bought it on my 360 previously, but
it was on 360, not Xbox
and then
One.
they opened it. Well, they opened it up for the Xbox One now because they did the whole backwards compatibility thing.
Right.
So you can look at your library. If you previously downloaded it, you can re-download it for the Xbox One, and that's what I played it on.
Well, yeah. Well, then I say, and if you own a 360 or an Xbox One and you like beat 'em ups, say you like Mother Russia Bleeds or something, gotta play this game.
And I agree with Stinky. This game holds up to any of its contemporaries currently.
It's like what Wiggly said on the last episode, that when you play Scott Pilgrim or 16-bitty type of new modern games, you go back to this game or you go back to Guardians and you'll see, wow, that's what you say, wow.
Yeah, Castle Crashers even has mechanics from this game with different items you can cycle through and use. And multiple endings as well, because I had apparently a Type E2 ending for the elf. I don't know what that means, but apparently there's multiple endings as well for everybody. So
for each character, there's actually multiple endings.
Jeez, God.
Yeah,
So
we won't get into that.
I think a lot of the newer titles that go for the 16-bit look, which is wonderful, I think that they are pulling more from things like Mario or Turtles and things like that. But some of the developers don't realize the magistricals and the schmeckles of some of these older titles.
They're pushing the hardware to their limits to achieve the absolute best they could. And with this game, they did.
Yeah.
Stinky, do you have any more final thoughts?
Actually, I just want to know who the fuck won the Dungeons and Dragons with Ellis. Ellis!
Hey, y'all, well, you did go in there, fight that weird or scary dragon. Well, I'll tell you what, let me try to roll 3. Uh-oh, I don't even have any dice. I'm going to have to choose out my card book. Oh, why they put these 2 jokers in the cards? I don't even know. Nobody ever used them. It's similar to what this other card is. It's got writing on it. I paid full price for this card book, and they give me 1 card that got all these letters on it. I don't need that. Nobody has time for that. Well, fortunately, no one survived because it would have been too scary. Uh-oh, shoe fell off on the boggle.
So, Kevin, how was your first D&D tabletop experience?
Man, I mean, it's kind of like losing my virginity all over again.
You thought
awkward,
you couldn't stay on track with it, but we are at the end now.
It's pretty amazing. I'm surprised that I survived. I mean, well, my character didn't, but, I did.
Kevin, if your character dies, you die too.
Oh, no. It's one of those movies.
Mazes and monsters, bitch.
Bloody Mary, Bloody Mary, Bloody Mary, Bloody Mary, Bloody Mary. Hey, I said Bloody Mary 4 times, and she went back.
I thought Tom Hanks was going to come running in.
I didn't get enough Calvin and Hobbes. That's my only problem.
Yeah, where's, Susie? She should have been, the final boss.
Hey, Mom, can I drive now? No. How about now? Clunk. Oh, no. Beep, beep. Ah! Beep, beep. Hooray, someone stopped. We're heroes. Want me to call a tow truck lady? First call the police and report an inficide.
I don't know what car Calvin would want to drive, because every time I see him, he's pissing on some other emblem. It doesn't seem
ironically
like
on
any
a car.
Yeah, on the car, yeah.
Okay, listen, we're running out of time, so we're only going to do half haikus. Who's got a haiku?
Okay. I do.
All right, who's that?
Me, Kyle.
State your name and your present company.
Kyle, we talk games, unfortunately.
Okay. Go.
Secret passages. Many treasures to collect. You'll never find them.
Unfortunately true. Let's be polite and let's go to our friend Wifey WK.
That's me. Choose your adventure. Level up for no reason. Golden Axe was robbed.
Oh, snap. So why did everybody have the fun on the holiday Haymakers?
Always a blast.
It was such a good time.
I think it was one of our best ever.
Ollie and Jolly.
Especially Thunderfist. What was it called?
Knuckle Bash?
Yeah. Like that one.
That's a perfect game for divas, drop kicks, and dives. Highly recommend
Look that up.
Knuckle Bash. So much wrestling, so little game.
I can't wait till next year when we do Pit Fighter for Holiday Haymakers.
Yes.
Hold your tongue, because that might be a summer of stink sort of situation.
I think we might be playing Guardians of the Hood before we play that one.
Oh, classic.
Yeah.
I'd like to thank Kevin for joining us for this, the final episode of 2016. Kevin, where can our listeners find you?
You can find me at the8bitgeek.com. We are also on Spotify under the 8-Bit Geek, Audio Boom, Podbean. I mean, you pretty much name a podcast finder and you'll find us. Also with Divas, Dropkicks, and Dives. We talk about wrestling all the time, me and Mike. So good times.
Okay, and while I have Stinky on the line, who do we invoice that plug to? Is it Jeremy?
I think we got to give it to the guy, again, his tooth pull, because he probably has that dental insurance.
Rob, we hope you feel better.
Yeah, I hope you feel better. Get that tooth out your head. Okay, everybody. Thanks for joining us this year for We Talk Games. Everybody remembers when John F. Kennedy was shot, except, ironically, not John F. Kennedy. Happy New Year! We Talk Games 2017. All right. Just a word to the wise there, Mr. Donnelly. Stand by, because I might need your help on this one. Fair warning. You too, Wiggly. If you want, just come over. Don't worry about it. Just get the mic. Shivivan, so, Hanaka, Hokato, Hanaka, Hokato, Shivivan, so, Apsimana, Ulala, let's get do Hayasha, let's get do Yasha, Apsimana, Ulala, Shivivan, so, Hanaka, Hokato, Hanato, Shivivan, so, Apsimana, Ulala, let's get do Hayasha, let's get do Yasha. Everybody! Shivivan, so, Hanaka, Hukato, Hanaka, Hukato, Shivivan, so, Haksima, Hulala, Neshka, Hayasha, Neshka, do Hayasha, Haksima, Hulala, Shivivan, so, Hanaka, Hukato, Hanaka, Hukato, Shivivan, so. I did it pretty good.
All right, so however you want to work that, Wiggly, I could do it, or you could.
What do you mean?
I want to just have Kevin have an opportunity to say what games he thought it was similar to.
Yeah, you say it. You're the host.
Okay.
You could ask me. You could. Well, I'll chime in.
Why am I still talking to him? I'll chime in after he says it without being tossed to.